Hello, everyone. Hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Wherever you are on this amazing, miraculous planet. It's good to be here with you guys. How is everyone doing? It's cold over here. Welcome to Untangled. This is episode 70. I was not here last week. I had a really, really powerfully intense migraine, and wasn't going to force myself or push myself. So here we are. I'm so happy to be here with you guys. I feel like I have a lot to share, and yet I have no idea what I'm going to share. But before I get started, Untangled, if you're new to my channel, thank you for being here. Untangled is a weekly series that I do where I just talk about this process of evolution, moving through this human experience, moving into new ways of being, new states of being, making the uncomfortable comfortable because you have no other choice, right? You got to be in this. It's called an evolution. It's called shifting frequencies and consciousnesses, and we're all in this together. It's no joke. It's next level humaning, in my opinion. So please subscribe to my channel if you haven't. Hit the like button if you end up listening to this and enjoying it. I have a couple of announcements. I started doing about a month ago a weekly Sunday morning newsletter where I send out a little update on my own experience and a free guided meditation. And it's this new thing that I'm doing. And if you want to join our mailing list, I've left the link down below in the description box where you can join and receive a free guided meditation every Sunday morning and a little download from me on my own personal journey and experience right now, what I'm going through. And the other piece that I want to share is that I am going to be doing a 3-day live workshop at the Art of Living Retreat Center in Boone, North Carolina, April 19th to the 21st. It's going to be so much fun. So excited about it. And that link is down below if you want to join me live in person. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that's it for my updates, or whatever they're called, whatever those things are called. No reminders. I don't freaking know. My brain's not working. But the guided meditations that I am sending out, they're pretty fun. Let's see. I did being in the body, connecting to your soul, releasing anxiety. And then I did one more, finding calm so far. So there's 4. Really good. Hi, Wes. Hi, Paula. Hi, Jojo. Hi, Christine. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Janet. Hi, Anna. Hi, Kate. Hi, Kristen. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Marlene. Hi, Astrid. Hi, Jojo. Thank you for that super chat. Hi, Lars. All right. So where do we begin? Where do we start? Thank you, Metaphysical Mike. We are experiencing so much energetically and physically right now in our bodies that it's humbling to me. So I speak about this all the time. It's literally like my Bible that I talk about. But it's the only thing that really matters to me. And it's this deep, deep remembrance of what we're doing here on the planet, which I talk about every single week because we forget every single hour of every single day. We get caught up in what we are experiencing as if it's us and there's something wrong with us. And if you're anything like me, it hasn't necessarily gotten easier to be on the quote unquote kind of battlefield, right? So I talk about the battlefield as an analogy for the evolution and consciousness that we're going through right now, right? And that every human, like it or not, is on this battlefield playing their own role in it. Now you can hide in the bushes, right? You can try to run, but you can't go anywhere. If you're on the planet in a physical human body, you are on the battlefield. What that means is that with or without your conscious choice, the body is shifting in frequency. And some people wake up to that in this lifetime and they become aware of it and they start making choices and changing with the body. And some people don't wake up to it. And they don't take advantage of the opportunity that's being gifted. In fact, they have no idea what most of us talk about on these channels where we're talking about evolution, shifting. You know, it's like they're in a different bubble, but they're still standing on the battlefield. Awareness, shedding light onto what is what allows the human to shift, to change. It's the light, it's awareness, right? When you turn the light on, then you now can see, and then you can make choices from that new lens, that new awareness. So what's happening to a lot of us right now, okay, and it's going to continue to happen, especially in the beginning of 2024, is that there is a darker shadow. This is what I was shown today. So before I begin, I sat in meditation this morning for the first time in a long time, where I actually kind of went up into this. I used to do this all the time, but I'd go up. I have these kind of guides, these galactic guides that I sit with on a spaceship kind of thing. And I've been very disconnected from them for quite some time. And I don't like the feeling of having this disconnection, because it's how I feel connected, like a light socket. Thank you, Annie, so much for that super chat. It's like when I'm connected to these guides, which are the ones that gave me the information for my book, The Divine Design, which, by the way, if you haven't gotten the book, The Divine Design, go get it. It's incredible. It's a history of you and Earth. When I'm connected to them, it feels like I've plugged into a socket. I feel like I am connected to the human collective, and I can feel what's happening with the human collective. I'm being shown what's happening on the planet. I just feel plugged in. And I would say this past year, it's been really choppy for me. I haven't been plugged in the way I normally am, for many different reasons. And I'm here to be on this planet to be plugged into them and to assist all of us in going through what we're going through, in the deeper remembrance, which is in our cells. It's in our DNA. It's inside of us, this knowingness of what's happening on the planet and why we're in what we're in. And what I think is more important than learning about the Illuminati and learning about different galactic species and learning about, the corruption and learning about the New World Order and all of that. What's more important than that is to understand that there is a collective frequency shift. Thank you, Martin, for once again your super chat. There is a collective energetic shift that's happening that brings the shadow to light, period. And it's extremely important that we start to realize, especially if you've been awake for a while, which means that you've been aware of all the things that are happening out there on the planet, that it's not about those what I consider tiny little ants that are crawling around creating the chaos, you know, the pedophilia, the all of that shit, right? That is just part of the shadow. All these different ants that create this anthill that creates the collective shadow. It is what it is. Now you can continue to stare at the ants and talk about each little ant, right? And in so doing, you're somewhat ignoring the fact that there is an evolutionary shift, frequency shift happening in your body, right? Or you can stand back and sort of look at the ant pile and remember what's happening, which is a much more empowered place to be. Because the ant hill, we've only seen a small percentage of the ant hill. Okay. And what we need to get used to or comfortable with is standing at a distance, watching the anthill, which means just watching all the corruption, watching the evil, watching the darkness, watching these ants, this hill get bigger and bigger and bigger. All right. So you're looking at it. You're not ignoring it or denying it. You're seeing what's happening. And I want you to pay attention to this analogy because it's very synonymous to what's happening inside your own inner world. And it will continue to. Everyone. I don't care how perfect somebody looks on Instagram or social media or YouTube. I don't care how put together somebody looks. I don't care how positive somebody seems. If you're on the battlefield and you're awake to everything, there's a shit ton of shit that's happening inside of your physical body and you're just not talking about it because you think there's something wrong with you or you don't want to look a certain way to all the other people out there. It's inevitable. So there's this anthill that's getting bigger and bigger in the collective, okay? All the stuff that's unraveling. If you and I continue to focus solely on these ants and try to get real particular, like, let me learn more about that horrific thing and that horrific thing and that horrific thing, right? All it's doing is it's creating this laser beam focus on these horrific shadowy parts. And the shadow is just going to get bigger. So you're going to feel completely overwhelmed. The shadow is going to get bigger. And what that means is that you're going to continue to see more and more horrific, chaotic, shadowy stuff. And our job here on the planet, okay, as these soldiers in the battlefield, and feel into this, like, don't just trust me or believe me, feel into this right now in your own body. You're designed to stand in this battlefield, okay? And I'm not using battlefield in a bad way. It's just the word that I like to use. You're standing here in this battlefield. And this pile of ants, which is another, let's just say it's the group across that you are learning is coming after you in some way, right? If you recognize it getting bigger and bigger and bigger, okay? And you feed into that fear, what's going to happen? You're going to feel disempowered. You're going to feel full of fear. You're going to want to run and hide. You're not going to feel like you can make it, right? You're not going to feel like you can take anymore. Who's familiar with these feelings right now, right? It's overwhelming. It's too much. You freeze or you get super angry, right? So I want you to imagine that going forward, there is this simultaneous experience of the ant field or the team rushing at you to get you. The shadow is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. But so too is this amazing shift in consciousness where we are becoming these beautifully enlightened kind of awake humans with an open heart, empowered, not living in fear, right? Not returning, not fighting back with anger or rage or divide. There are these two sides that are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And eventually what happens in this shift in consciousness is that the human collective starts to realize who they actually are. The human actually begins to realize, holy shit, I don't have to be afraid. Holy cow, I don't have to play in this any longer. Holy cow, I'm actually safe to feel every single thing. Holy Moses, all of these stories are just designed to keep me in a restrictive, tight, fear-based way. This isn't about anything other than remembering that you're a soul in a body, and you can label your soul all kinds of labels. And even that is really restrictive. Like I'm a star seed, or I'm a this, or I'm a that. It's like, no, you're just a soul that incarnated at this time to participate in a massive evolutionary shift in consciousness. And it doesn't matter what label you give yourself. Do you have the courage to stand in the battlefield and let it get darker? Let the shadow come over the field. That is what is happening. And this is happening inside of you as well. It's happening inside the majority of humans. Thank you so much, Karen, for the super chat. This is happening for the majority of the humans that are awake to the physical, which is energetic shifts that are happening in their bodies and on the planet, which means they are watching what's happening. They're aware of what's happening. They realize that there's more divide occurring. They realize that there's deep programming, right? So they're realizing all of that. And then they're realizing that there's something happening inside their body. They're waking up. And if that's happening, which it is to most humans, meaning that awareness is starting to turn on, I promise you, there is a shitstorm happening in their experience. And what I was thinking about this morning is, and I've said this so many times, but if you start to recognize that we are standing in this beautiful polarized field, okay, here's this planet and it's got this lightness and this darkness, right? And it's this intermingling of the two, like this, all right, like a figure eight or the yin and the yang, all right? You can't debate, negate, argue, or hide from the dark. You can't negate, ignore, deny, or argue the light. Both are here. And so when you start to awaken out of amnesia and the slumber state, and you start to see what's happening within your own body and on the planet, you really start to see the dark more and more. And then you start to see the light more and more. Then you start to see the dark more and more. Then you see the light more and more. And there's this seesaw back and forth effect that starts to happen. And you think you're going crazy. This is going to continue. The more we can recognize this, the easier this will be. The problem that frustrates me sometimes, as somebody that is trying to speak about what's happening in a really grounded, humble human way, which is that this is a shit show. You are going to think you've lost your mind. You're going to have breakdowns. You're going to have huge amounts of grief coming out of nowhere. You're going to wake up with huge amounts of anxiety for no reason. Like, these are things that are going to happen. And they're happening because we are pulling ourselves, okay, this body, I should say, is pulling us out of old ways in which we have believed that we needed to be in. And so it shocks the system, right? Where our awareness is blown. We start to realize, oh my God, I can't believe that this is how I've been. Oh my God, I can't believe these are all the thoughts that are moving. It just starts to happen. You have no choice as soon as you start waking up. And the unfortunate the unfortunate piece to this, and this is going to shift in the next 5 years, more and more people are going to start talking about the shit show that's happening inside their system, because more and more people are going to start talking about the shit show happening within their own system. And then it's going to become normal, kind of like COVID. 2020, 2021, very few people in the social media, Instagram, whatever world were talking about COVID and the vaccines, right? Now everybody and their grandmother is talking about it because it became okay. And that's the same thing that's going to start happening with the absolute no choice but unraveling, chaotic earthquake of awakening that happens inside. We can't continue to pretend that all is well. We can't keep pretending to have our shit together. I was at the yoga studio last week, and with my girlfriend Kyla and I, we were talking, and I'm very open. I'm very honest. I don't pretend. Like, that's just not me. And so I was talking to Kyla and I was like, yeah, like I am just like, there is just so much unrattled, like, unrattled. No, there's so much rattling in my body. It's so tight. I'm uncomfortable. I feel like I'm, floating and somebody's got my arms. And one of the yoga teachers, she says, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, I'm talking about how it's a shit show for me right now. And I'm in my own body. It feels tight, restrictive. I'm uncomfortable. I just started speaking. She goes, I know, me. She goes, me too. I have so much anxiety right now and I don't even know why. I don't know where it's coming from. And you would see her and you would, and I'm not, obviously this is obvious. Most people are not walking around like, hey, I just want to let you know I have tons of anxiety in the morning. But think about this for a moment. If we did that, how much more okay would we be with our own experiences? You realize that 70% of the reason why we don't allow ourselves to be in what we're in is because we look out at the world and see everybody else and they seem put together. So then we say to ourselves, there must be something wrong with me. This must not be okay. And then every once in a while, you hear somebody being honest about how they're feeling. You're like, fuck, that's how I'm feeling. And somehow in that one moment, you feel okay because somebody else has validated what you're feeling. We've got, in my opinion, this evolution in consciousness is not about focusing on solely, this amazing love and light and heart that unravels naturally. That's easy to be in when you are, when if you want to kind of focus on it or put your attention on it, right? It's easy to feel those things. It's easy to feel, um well, I wouldn't say easy for a lot of us, but what I mean is, like, you can pretend pretty easily. You can move yourself and force yourself into these emotional states: joy, peace, love, contentment, etc., which is our natural state. You can move yourself into those places through, listening to somebody or, music or a class or a course or a retreat or whatever, right? But that doesn't last. I guarantee you it won't last. It won't last because there's way too much shadow still in your body, and there's way too much shadow on the planet right now that's going to pull you out of that. But here's what the human does. We try to bring ourselves back into those states as if the shadowy parts that you don't like are wrong or bad. And this is the problem. This is why the evolution in human consciousness takes a long time and is so frustrating. Because you'll find yourself in these places where, deep down, because again, it's our natural state of being. This is what evolution is. We are literally moving into these natural, our true nature: love, divinity, calm, peace, empowered, present, unified. Okay. So when we feel those things, it feels so good. It feels so right. It feels like you don't want it to ever go away. But guess what? We live on a planet that is consumed by lower dimensional frequencies: fear, greed, manipulation, divide, right? And there has to be this sort of, I'm just using this word just because it's popping up, but there has to be like a clearing out, a movement through what it is that we have been conditioned to not see, which is the shadow. And this conditioning is, it's not good. It's not okay. Don't feel this. Thank you so much, Marissa, for that super chat. Don't feel that. That's bad. You're a bad person. Something's wrong with you, right? There's this deep, deep, deep manipulation that has been happening on the planet, keeping us out of the shadow, not to feel the shadow. So everything is kind of pummeled into us to feel better. Buy this, do this, feel this, go here, buy this car, have make your body, like, everything's externally focused, that's what all of the marketing is all about. is to get you to realize that you need something out there, and it keeps you out of your own internal healing, which is basically, are you okay with feeling the deeper shadowy stuff within you that you've been programmed unconsciously to not feel? Okay, so the more that you cannot feel the shadow, the more disempowered you will be. The more that you continue to look at the anthill and just focus on the anthill, the more disempowered you're going to be. The more empowered place that we will be is to be able to watch the shadow, watch the anthill out there, and watch it get bigger and remember what's happening. Feel it all. Holy shit, that's a huge anthill. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Oh my God. Now, the challenge is, can you feel what is arising in your body based on that big anthill that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger? Instead of focusing and getting overwhelmed by all of the ants. It's going to create massive chaos and anxiety in you, stress, worry. It's going to create illness inside of you. I'm telling you, the anthill's going to get bigger. It's and I've been talking about this for years, that you can't get stuck in the anthill and all the tiny little ants. You can read about it, but if you let it get you, it's going to create illness inside of you. It's going to create the stress and the anxiety and all of this stuff. Now, that's different than feeling the anthill within yourself that's arising in order to free you. So when there's an anthill arising within you, that's the shadow within yourself, right? So that is all of these ways in which you have been experiencing yourself, all of the ways in which you've been taught to be and to do and to feel. These little ants are going to start showing themselves to you, and you're going to look down, you're going to look within and say, "Oh my God, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. What is this? What is this? What is this? What is this?" You're going to realize all the times that you've allowed people to pull pull your energy into them, right? All the times that you've been lied to, manipulated, all the times that you have laid yourself down to be walked all over, all of the times that you have quieted your own voice in order to make somebody else happy, all of the times in which you have believed that you're not worthy of certain things, and this is still happening, right? These are this ant pile within you that's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And what it is asking of you is, imagine the analogy of the battlefield. And you're the soldier. What it's asking of you is not to run from what's arising within you, not to believe that it's you. Okay. And not to even have to fix or change any of what is happening inside of you in your own internal battlefield. It's simply showing you energetically, you are being gifted the greatest freedom gift on the planet, which is being able to see what has imprisoned you in this human journey and made you believe that you're anything less than who you came here to be as soul and human. And the way you do that is you have to see, you have to watch, and you have to feel the programmed ways that you have been living in this world. And I call it programmed because it's not your true nature. It's not your natural state. So anxiety is going to arise because you're starting to realize all of the ways that you've conditioned yourself, lived, what you've been afraid of, what you aren't allowing, what you're not accepting in your life, what worries you, what creates stress, all the future thoughts. You're going to start to see that more and more, right? You're going to start to feel even more of the fear. You're going to start to hear louder and louder voices telling you can't do this. You're not good enough. These are the ants. The light is shining in and showing you this anthill within yourself so that you can see it, recognize what it is. Wow, this is an anthill inside of me. This is not me. This is an anthill inside of me. This is not me. It's not you. Even little D says that. Right, D? It's not us. Trying to tell these people. You want to tell them? You do? You want to tell them? I'm watching my dog's friend. I'm watching my friend. Um, they're anthills, you guys. Every uncomfortableness is an anthill. So I want you to recognize throughout your day. And the anthill is the shadow. It's not for you to run from, be afraid of, or even try to change. Have you ever tried to get rid of ants and they just come back? The anthill is allowed to be inside of you. Thank you, Brandy, so much for that super chat. Wow, really, really appreciate that. The anthill is just the shadow, which is just the program. It's all programming, right? It's programming from this world. It's programming from the systems that we've been in. It's programming from our families who were programmed by their families, who were programmed by their families. It's just the way in which we have been told to live. All right. And so when things are arising in your world right now, and I'm telling you, I hope to God this hits you in the beingness of your being. Most people have an anthill that is erupting inside of them right now. They're just not talking about it. Because it's impossible on an energetic level based on physics. Okay. It is impossible to be on this planet right now, awake and alert to everything. Thank you, Deborah, so much for the super chat. Thank you, Danny, for the super chat. You guys are making me teary-eyed. Most of us, if you're awake to what's happening, if you're starting to feel more and more, if you're coming online, so to speak, then you've got an anthill inside of you, no matter how much work you've done in terms of healing yourself. Because this anthill is not about healing, the trauma with, in terms of like attachment styles and things like that. That's all like surface level. I've talked about this before. This anthill is deep, deep programming. I'm talking the core essence of who you think you are that you're not. The thoughts that just don't go away: unworthiness, conditional love, the inability to have abundance. Right? So there's constant lack, there's constant fear. There's nothing wrong with you, by the way. This is normal for a human in a third dimensional realm. This is normal. These are if you don't have these thoughts, then I don't know where you've been your whole life, because most of us have really deep programmed core ways in which we have been brought up and taught to be. And that's the anthill. That's the shadow that you are courageously feeling right now and wanting to literally crawl out of your skin because of. Thank you, Lori Lee, for the super chat. Thank you, Susie Lovable, for the super chat. I love your name. Susie Lovable. We should all have that name. Lori Lovable. So cute. I love that. So this is see this from a different lens, you guys. Don't see this just as you kind of healing. Don't see this as I don't know. Thank you, regular for the super chat. It's not, this is deep stuff. Okay. This is an anthill that you didn't even realize was there. And so at the same time that the anthill is erupting inside of you and erupting out there and potentially going to get louder, there is this deep surrendering into what is. And when you allow what is, now here's the piece. Jonah Rogers, yes, growing. Here's the piece. When you start to remember more and more what's happening here and what you're experiencing, okay, you will start to feel the you that you've always been. You'll start to feel calm. You'll start to feel peace. You'll start to feel connection. You'll start to feel okay. You'll start to feel these ways, not because you're trying to. Okay, now remember, on this planet, there is light and dark. There is shadow and there is light. Okay, and it's probably somewhat equal right now, like the yin and the yang. Okay, and If you are constantly trying to bring yourself into that light, into that positive, the more feel good spaces, okay? You will be pummeled and in a massive state of suffering when you feel the shadow, which is inevitable. Please recognize this. It is inevitable to not feel shadow. It's inevitable. You're not in charge of this, okay? This is a journey and a process that is naturally happening. Most humans don't understand this. They think they're in charge because we have been programmed to believe that we are in charge. This is a river that you're floating down or an ocean that you're in that's changing its ways. It's changing its movement. Okay? And you're in it and you don't have control over how this goes. That's the hardest piece that every human will have to surrender and accept to, because we want to be in this state that I'm in charge and I'm controlling and I create. And on one level, we are creator beings. That's the greatest thing about being human, soul in human form, is that you get to create. And you get to create out of nothingness physical reality. The problem with creating when you are afraid of the shadow, this is so important. The problem with creating when you are afraid of the shadow is that you will continue to perpetuate creations that try to get you to run from what just simply is the shadow. When you start creating from your natural state of being, from this empowered, all is allowed, all is well, all is okay, all can be here, then you create your highest outcome. You create your highest outcome. So when you are creating from this need or desire to be in something that you're not in yet, and because you don't want to be in what you're in, that's not your highest outcome. If you can be with the shadow and the dark, if you can be with all of what is, and you're not running from any of it. Thank you, Valeria, for the super chat. Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. When you can be in all of this, okay? And then you create, that is an empowered state of creation. When you create from fear, when you create from not having, when you create from wanting something that is the opposite of what you're in, okay? This is a disempowered state. And so what starts to happen is we stop creating for a while and we start learning how to be in what is first. The human is evolving into these beautiful creator beings. Okay, but creator beings do not control anything. They don't control their environment. We're standing here on this battlefield, and the shadow is here and the light is here. What are you going to do? Keep arguing against the shadow? Keep trying to force just the light, just the light, just the light? The most empowered, humble, calm, peaceful humans walking the planet right now don't give a shit if it is shadow or light that they are in. They're just in all of it, allowing it because they know it's not who they are. So all the great masters, all the great yogis, all the greatest people that were humans that were able to sort of master this reality, they did not run and hide from the shadow. They ran right into it. They ran right into the darkness. Why? They didn't run into a 5D earth and say, show me the 5D earth and that's all I want to be in. They knew that in order to bring humanity to heaven on earth, right here, right now, humanity had to be able to stand in the darkness. Thank you, Kate, so much for your super chat. I didn't see Marty's question. Marty, ask your question again. Thank you, Marta, for the super chat. You guys are so gracious right now. I'm so, my heart just feels so grateful. I forgot what I was. Oh, these masters, these you know, you could almost call them like the advanced human kind of thing, right? Where they were integrated. They were integrated into their bodies. Uh, they didn't try to create some sort of world, meaning they didn't stay in this like love and light positive space and try to force people into these higher vibrational states. In fact, none of them even used that term. They were able to meet humans where they were at, in their darkness, in their shadow, right? They were able to meet humans in their suffering. And they were able to reflect back to these humans that this is not who they are, but that this is okay, that you are loved no matter what, that you are seen no matter what, that you are held no matter what. That's what we're here to do as the awakened, evolved, advanced human. This has nothing to do with changing the external world, and it has nothing to do with changing your internal world. It has to do with remembering who you are. And when you remember who you are, you have to stand in all of it. The more that you can stand in whatever you're going through, remembering it is an anthill. It is ants. It is programming, 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 programming. This is programming. This is programming. Every thought that you believe to be true is a program. That's it. It's a program. And once you realize that it's a program, then you get to start to choose the thoughts you want to have, that they're going to create your reality. This is no easy feat, what we're doing here. And it is a constant record playing over and over and over again to remind us. Like I said earlier, like you cannot be reminded more than too many times, because every moment of every day is going to bring you into the places that you fear the most within your body. The emotions you fear the most, you're going to be shown. The thoughts you fear the most. Why? Because you are trying to get you to step into the most empowered place you can possibly be, which is I can be in anything. That's true freedom. True freedom, because you're not an emotion. You're not a thought. You're not the program. You're not what people have been telling you you are. You're not the attachment styles. You're not the abandonment. You're not the, I don't know. We have all of these ways in which we label who we are, and you're this, and then you're that. You're none of that. You're none of that. That's just a way that you can understand, behaviors that you do and blah, blah, blah. But you are here to remember that you're a soul incarnated into a dense physical body on a dense physical planet that is moving through a massive evolutionary shift in consciousness, which is frequency, which is energy that you're not in charge of and that you're just moving through. And by the way, you're going to feel dark and light. There is nothing wrong with the dark and there is nothing wrong with the light. The evolution in human consciousness is that eventually at some other now moment, humanity as a collective will be experiencing this planet from a much higher state of consciousness. So the light will be much more brighter and the shadow will be almost dissolved. Right? But the only way that humanity as a collective gets there, which we are getting there, it is the evolution. It's already happened. It's like telling the water that's starting from the mountaintop going down the river that they're never going to hit the ocean. It's like, that's impossible. Every river goes into the ocean at some point, no matter if it turns into a stream and then whatever it does, right? It goes into an ocean. So this is happening. It's just a matter of, because we are in this illusion of time, it's going to take some sort of time for us as a human collective to let go of controlling how this works in order to sit back into the seat of your soul and allow this human experience to gift you with who you have always been, a soul in a body. And when you are connected to that, when you are embodied in that, when you are aligned in that, when there is a descending back down into, no longer trying to be these higher frequencies, because your soul already is, no longer trying to be anything other than what is right here, right now. As soul or awareness or spirit, it doesn't give a shit what's arising because it knows it's none of it. And it knows that every moment the human character is being gifted with the ability to see the attachment that they have to who they think they are based on what they're experiencing. And the more that we can see and observe and allow, I forgot I was going to look at Marty's question, the more empowered you become, the more embodied you become, the safer you feel in the world, the more peace you start to experience, the more calm. And for some of us, we are experiencing this anthill all the time right now. Part of it is this collective. Hi, Mike. It's so good to see you. Hello, my friend. I hope everything went well with your surgery. There's so much collectively happening that that in the anthill that it creates the anxiety in your body. Learning how to be with your body right now, with your nervous system, huge. Imagine you're standing, like you're having to stand right next to an anthill, okay? Huge anthill. And you're like, "Oh my God, are the ants gonna come over? Are the ants gonna come over? Are the ants gonna come over?" Right? And you're still doing what you have to do on this battlefield. You're like, getting your water and your food, but it's all around this huge anthill. Huge. There's going to be this underlying anxiety. There's going to be this like underlying fear, perhaps, like this unsettledness. Of course, there is. There's a huge freaking ant field around you. And to pretend it's not there is insanity, right? um Good, I'm glad, Mike. To pretend that it's not out there and that you don't feel all of this, like, no, I'm just all peace, I'm all good, I'm all good. It's like, I'm gonna call bullshit on that. You got a freaking ant hill all around you, and it's okay. It's okay to let in whatever it is, because that is allowing what is. That's just being human. Oh my God, are these ants gonna get me? Are they red ants? Are they black ants? What's going on? And then when you start allowing, when you simply start allowing just the normal human reactions that happen, because it's not you, it's just being in the experience of the human. It's a next level experience that you start to have. You're allowing everything. Mark my words. You know how we if you're in the conscious community, the spiritual community, the whatever words you want to use, you're used to everything being love and light. You're used to everything saying like, "Oh, we're ascending into these beautiful new states, and just bring yourself into love and bring yourself." It literally drives me fucking nuts, because it is such absolute and utter neglect in what else is being experienced, right? And so I promise you, in the next 3-4 years, there will be more, and it's already starting to happen, but there will be more and more conversation around allowing the shit, letting the anxiety be there, letting do you guys know who Jeff Foster is? He's an amazing, beautiful teacher. He talks about this all the time. But that is what is going to start to become sort of normal. And we'll look back and say, wow, remember how we tried to be all like love and light the whole time, and like moving ourselves into some sort of like 5D world? It's like 5D world is already right here, right now. It's all about descending into what is. You can't bypass into it, right? It already is. I'm going to do like, I don't know if I'm going to do that, but just be aware, you guys, that you're going to get pulled into all the tiny little ants, right? Thank you, Steve, so much for your super chat. Pay attention to this little ant, pay attention to that little ant, dive deeper into that little ant, now go into that little ant. And all it's going to do, promise you, is create anxiety in your body. It's going to create a future. It's going to create predictions. It's going to create all this stuff. Same with your inner world. If you're going into each tiny little ant and trying to figure out why, how do I get rid of this, right? You can do that. What's this all about? Let me dive deeper into that. You can totally do that, or you can just sit back and allow the ants to be there. In fact, if the ants want to get louder, by all means, get louder. I don't give a shit. I'm not the ants. And what you realize is the counterintuitiveness of that, which is that the ants start to dissolve when you simply just let them come. Come, go ahead. You let go. Get as loud, build as big of an ant farm as you want. I'm not running from you anymore. I'm not hiding from you anymore. I'm not trying to move into any other state than what is. It's counterintuitive, especially if you've been taught to be in certain experiences and certain emotions and certain ways of being. Because one of the things we've been taught is that if you talk about what you're experiencing, like anxiety, okay, what's his question? I keep talking and I don't see it. All right, ask your question and I'll look for it. If we have this idea that if you keep talking about, oh, I'm feeling anxiety, then you're just perpetuating it. Only if you're attached to it, as if it's you. What if your partner is less affected and not as sensitive to the collective, and you struggle with guilt for being a mess for too long and not able to nourish the connection and love them? Well, here's the thing about relationships, okay? What happens when you're in a relationship with someone that is not in the same awareness as you are? It's okay, first of all, right? We are no better than or no less than someone else if we're aware of the anthill inside of us. Um, if somebody has is not being affected whatsoever and is looking at you, who's super affected by the energies, and you're becoming more energetic and you're feeling more and you're thinking more and you're losing your mind, right? The challenge around this is that it's not about the other person. It's about the you. So this is about you, Marta. This is about your partner. It's not about you changing yourself for your partner or your partner changing them for you, right? So it's about the deeper awareness of what you're telling yourself, the guilt. Being just that is an ant that is arising. Most likely you have felt guilt most of your life around ways in which you have been, how you've expressed yourself. Perhaps you're a people pleaser, right? Like me. Perhaps you've always tried to make sure the other person is okay. Everything is being gifted to us right now to show us the ants, which is the programming, the deeper programming. So how can you still allow yourself to be you, okay, and not have to defend and get angry, and upset, like, this is who I am and I'm not going to change and I'm shifting and I'm no. That's a very aggressive, defensive way of being. You're being gifted, we all are being gifted in relationship to be able to embrace what's unraveling in us, to embrace the chaos, to embrace the crazy, to embrace it all, and to allow somebody next to you to not be able to allow somebody next to you to not understand it, that is allowed, that is okay. You don't have to convince them, right? This is more of an opening up to you and an opening up to how they are. If it becomes destructive, if it becomes abusive, if it becomes no longer cohesive, then you might kind of want to look at perhaps something is shifting in the relationship, right? You want to look at what is being presented to you, for you, by you, over and over and over again. And I can promise you that this is all about you and it's all about your partner individually. And so what ants are showing up for you? You know, it's super tough when you're in relationship, especially if you've been in a relationship for a long time. And now all of a sudden you're moving through this new experience and new ways of being, and your partner isn't. But I promise you, you're being asked to be the one that goes first. Thank you, Mike, so much for your super chat. It's so good to see you. And you're being asked to go first. There's nothing wrong with them. Okay? Nothing wrong with them. If they're treating you poorly, you hold firm boundaries. Thank you, Marta, for that super chat. And I'm glad that I got to see your question. You hold firm boundaries around what is acceptable and what is okay. But you don't want to live in a place where you are constantly having to defend yourself. You want to be aware of that, right? A lot of us are going to be asked to really look at the relationships we're in. And because the greatest tool that we have right now to show us our ants is relationships. I'm not I don't dive too deep into attachment styles. And the only reason I think that they're completely legitimate. I think I'm like anxious attachment or something where you grab. The only reason I don't like to play in those types of ways is because it feels very restrictive. It feels very narrow focused. Okay. Like if I can figure out my attachment style and I can figure out his attachment style, then we can unravel how we're being based on an attachment style and on one level completely. But I like to see things from this larger perspective. Okay. And the larger perspective is what's arising right now for me. That's it. What's arising? How am I being? Am I insecure? Am I pleasing this person and throwing what I need to the side? Um, am I afraid to be alone? Am I hurting them on purpose so that they feel insecure? Am I taking my own anger that I'm feeling towards what's happening with me and throwing it on them? Just simply being aware of what is arising and seeing it and getting curious with it and taking a full responsibility with it, in my experience, has way more of a impact than trying to figure out what attachment styles we are and then going from there, because still that's very surface level. This is an energetic, like a deep, deep energetic shift. And so one of the reasons we stay stuck for so long is because, sure, we'll figure out these little things, right? We'll figure out how to navigate them through attachment styles or through different traumas that we've had, right? But eventually something else arises, and then something else arises. And it's like, oh, it's no longer about the attachment style. Now it's about this. Oh, now it's not about. And at the end of the day, it's just these little ants, these deep, deep, deep programmed ants. Guilt, shame, insecurity, fear. And so it's always showing you. It's just that you get distracted by all the ways in which we think that we're here to fix it or heal it or figure it out. If you let all of that go and you just sit with what's arising, it's way scarier. Thank you, Catherine, so much for that super chat. If you sit with just what is and not try to figure it out, which is very difficult, it's much, much scarier. But it's much more profound, because when you stop trying to grab an identification around what it is that you're experiencing, which is simply trying to get you to be disidentified with it. Okay, so think about this for a second. What you're experiencing right now in any moment is truly about detaching the identification that you have around it. I shouldn't be angry. I should be a good person. I should be a nice person. I shouldn't have anxiety. You're identifying with the specific way that you should be in this planet, in this world. I should be in relationship. I shouldn't be. I should have children. I shouldn't have children, right? Whatever that is. And whatever's arising right now in your world, I promise you, is getting you to stop identifying with whatever it is that you think you are. Okay, so it's going to show you the thought over and over and over and over. It's going to show you the behavior over and over and over, so you can see it and realize it's not you. So you can see it and realize it's not you. And the way that you do that is you sit with what is and you see it as not you. If you start piling on all of these other reasons for it, it's just another attachment to it. And then you're just getting stickier. It's just becoming more and more sticky. And sometimes we need to do that. That's why, I was listening to Ajay Shanti last night, and he said something so profound about the awakening and how how there's this deep aloneness in awakening. And he's like, go sit in a room with no TV, no phone, no distractions, for 5 days. Just an absolute silence, no stimulations. And let yourself meet all of the parts of you that you want to run from, that you want to hide from, because you think that it's you. Most people can't do that. They would literally lose their minds. But that is where you become free. So just pay attention to any labels that you're putting on yourself right now that still create an attachment or identification to it. That's all. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Because we're all navigating this in the best way that we can. Yeah. I wonder what the balance is between dealing with the ant or walking away from it. Well, you can't walk away from the ant. Who asked that question? Sam. You can't necessarily walk away from the ant, because if the ant is the shadow, okay, the shadow within you or the shadow within the collective, basically what that means is that it's just here. It's just here. It's like you're in this big bubble called the quantum field, and you're standing in the quantum field, which is where everything exists and everything's allowed. And you're in a third dimensional reality. So you're in a little box within the quantum field that's called the 3D, which has duality, polarity, moving into 4D, or also being 4D and also being 5D, all of that. So there's this combination of kind of flipping between these three boxes, so to speak, on an energetic level that gives you different experiences while you're in a physical form. Okay. And the 3D reality is very dualistic, very polarized. So there's going to be a lot of shadow and a lot of light. It makes no sense when you're in this box to run from the ant. So that's the ego wanting to get out of what it's in. You get out of what you're in when you allow it. And allowing it doesn't mean that it's okay. And it doesn't mean you're going to like it. And it doesn't mean that it's you. So it doesn't stay for very long. But when you allow it to be, it's allowed to be here, then it dissolves quicker and quicker. And that's literally how we are evolving from 3 to 4 to 5D. And what's so funny about the human is the human in the third dimension is very controlling. And so they think that they are the ones moving into a kind of fifth dimensional existence. So the more that you as the human try to move yourself into this 5D existence, the more you're going to suffer, because you're going to be pulled back into this 3D reality where your physical body is at still, because there's all this shadow that still needs to be seen and allowed. If you can't allow the darkest of the dark, you won't be able to hold yourself in the fifth dimensional kind of realm of frequency that we're all evolving into, which is allowing everything. Not running from, not controlling, not afraid of. There's no fear. You can't force yourself into no fear. You just can't. You become fearless when you stand in all of the fear. That's when you become fearless. You don't become fearless running from the fear, telling yourself you're not afraid. You become fearless when you stand in the darkest parts of yourself and you no longer run. When you stand in the scariest moments and you don't run. You become the most empowered, embodied human when you can feel every single emotional state that arises and you simply allow it to move through you. And this doesn't mean that you sit in it, okay? Because this is confusing. I gotta go. It's already 10:05. This doesn't mean that you sit in it, because if you attach to it, then there's something wrong with you. You need to get out of it. You need to fix it. You need to change it, blah, blah, blah. But when you allow it, it's just moving through you. It's just showing you something new that you need to see or feel. Right. And once you recognize it, once you allow it, which means that you feel it and it's okay, then you can choose to sort of, you know, um, you choose to sort of get up and do something different or change your environment, go for a road trip, you know, eat different food, go sit in the sun, be in nature, whatever it is. But you don't try to suffocate it. All right, you guys, I got to go. Thank you all, every single one of you, for being here. Please subscribe to my channel. We're going to go deeper and deeper into all of this every week. And more and more is going to be unraveled to me and unraveled to you. And I'm really excited to go on this ride with you. I can't wait for 2024. It's going to be incredible. Hit the like button if you liked this video. I guess you wouldn't be here if you didn't like it. If you want to join the mailing list, click the link down below, get your free guided meditation every Sunday. And of course, if you want to be with me live for 3 days in April, check out the 3-day workshop I'm doing. The description is down below. In the meantime, be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with other humans and other animals and other sentient beings in all of it. And the ants. I'll see you next week for Untangled episode 71. I love you guys. You guys all rock. Mwah.